Your top story this evening, President Jacob Zuma has staged a fight back in the ANC's extended National Working Committee. It was clear from the outcomes that the ANC Secretary General, who had slammed the decision to sack Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan, admitted that the outbursts was a mistake. Soon after the meeting, Deputy President clarified that President Jacob Zuma had no role to play in the postponement of Kathrada's funeral. The allegations that President Jacob Zuma was asked by the Integrity Commission to quit were summarily dismissed. So what turned the tide in Zuma's favor? ANN7 gets you the inside story. Reliable sources have told ANN7 what transpired at that meeting. President Jacob Zuma warned the three detractors amongst the top six in view of their criticism of President Jacob Zuma. The president also questioned the detractors on whether they will be able to manage the consequences if he steps down. Zuma apprised them of the ANC branch's anger against public outbursts against him. Majority of the provincial leaders attending the extended NWC threw their weight behind the president. Pravin Gordhan, Cyril Ramaphosa, Gwede Mantashe and Zweli Mkhize came in for heavy criticism at that meeting. It was agreed that Cyril Ramaphosa will clarify through statement that he postponed the memorial and not President Jacob Zuma. Now joining us on the line this evening to discuss this further is Professor Dipuo, who is a political analyst. Good evening to you, Professor. Hearing the ANC feedback with regards to the outcomes of the NWC earlier today, do you think that was a platform where President Jacob Zuma had the opportunity to stamp his authority?
No, I think the ANC had an opportunity to stamp its authority. What is most important to realize is that every time the ANC is under attack, you see the members of the ANC rallying around their own leadership. And here what we have, it's not so much who has won, but the ANC has actually won. The ANC has found itself in the midst of all. The choice is the president also provided an opportunity to clarify a number of issues. One is really the issue of the prerogative of the president to invite and to remove people from his cabinet, but also to indicate that it is not proper for the leadership of the ANC to exploit the differences and they wash their dirty linen in public. But what is very clear is that the members of the ANC leadership were not reading from the same hymn book. But what Gwede was very clear about is that on the matter of Pravin Gordhan, the leadership was consulted. And that is, for them, it's very important. And that ultimately it becomes the prerogative of the president to proceed to make sure that you have people in your team who are going to be seen to be working with you, not against you. So all this noise around Pravin is misguided in the sense that there was consultation. What is also very interesting about the noise is that the noise seemed not to be concerned about other ministers. And it could also be that there's an ethnic element here that is not being addressed. That why should this particular minister invite so much controversy as opposed to others? There is little comment about the people like Dipuo Peters, the minister, former minister, and other ministers. The only concern is really around Pravin. And I think in a sense, it was also correct for the NWC to make a statement around that they have accepted and they were informed much earlier that the relationship was not sustainable and they were comfortable with it. The disagreement was really on the list that they aimed to come from somewhere. But upon explanation, the officials and the leadership of the ANC within the provinces came to an agreement that, Mr. President, we are going to support the Dipuo and the members of your team. And effectively, in so doing, they were making an endorsement for the president. But the Secretary General went further to say they will also not allow the opposition to dictate the agenda of the ANC. It will also not be allowed to dictate who should be the leadership, who should be in the leadership of the ANC. When the ANC wants to choose and to remove anyone, it has made clear that it is that there's not a responsibility that can be outsourced to the opposition parties.
We hear you, Professor, and we thank you for your views and comments. We appreciate you talking to us and sharing those comments with us here on Newsroom Live this evening. Let's continue the comments coming in. We are also joined on the phone line by another political analyst, Dipuo Khadima. Good evening, to you, Mr. Khadima. Do you think the President, Jacob Zuma, used the NWC as an opportunity to stamp his authority within the ranks of the ANC?
I think I would read it that it was more of clarifying the issues and perhaps maybe giving more greater detail as to the circumstances that led to the decisions that he took, more than him stamping his authority. After all, he is still the president of the African National Congress. So I guess that level of authority is imputed upon him in terms of his position. But I think listening to the press conference earlier today, where a number of issues they seemed to try and communicate, one can say it is probably good for the ANC that the NWC has now acknowledged that the three top 6 officials who spoke out of 10 or who spoke publicly against the president, that this was a mistake. It will never happen again. And one can contrast the situation we saw happening in the ANC with the Democratic Alliance. The Democratic Alliance were able to close ranks around Helen Zille. They were able to consolidate and communicate from a single point of view and not have multiplicity of diverse voices. So the ANC, unfortunately, I think in the last week or so, they suffered from that. So the question that begs to be still to be answered is that the status of being a holy cow for former Minister Pravin Gordhan, unfortunately, that is still, I think, a risk for the ANC because he's yet to address a number of other memorial services of the late Ahmed Kathrada. And the question is that will he continue to have the posture he had of saying, of course, he is mobilizing as an aggrieved party for having been removed as the Minister of Finance. And if he does continue with that posture, what punitive sanction will the ANC take against him, or will they continue to tolerate acts of ill discipline?
Ms. Khadima, just quickly, because we are running out of time, with regards to the quick turnaround of both the SG Gwede Mantashe and also the Deputy President Cyril Ramaphosa, a lot of South Africans are asking themselves whether the ANC is indeed united or if this is just how they want to be perceived by the larger South Africa. Your views?
Effectively, one has to read it this way. You cannot expect to receive what you are not able to give yourself. So if these three leaders, in terms of their public utterances, they effectively showed a lack of respect for the office of the president and for the president, therefore they too would have no legitimate expectation to be respected in their respective portfolios. So their quick turnaround is clearly an admission that they made a mistake because their position was gravely untenable.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Khadima, for your comments this evening. We appreciate you talking to us. Political analyst Dipuo Khadima on the phone line, just talking to us about inside information that ANN7 has received with regards to that NWC, stating that President Jacob Zuma had warned the three detractors amongst the top 6. We want you to get involved in this conversation. Tweet us at ANN7 TV is our Twitter handle. Moving on, the ANC has emerged united against the opposition trying to exploit internal divisions. The immediate priority was to avert an imminent threat to President Jacob Zuma's government. ANC Secretary General Gwede Mantashe says no ANC MP is allowed to vote in favor of the motion of no confidence against President Jacob Zuma. Mantashe reiterated the NEC member Nomvula Mokonyane's statement, saying the party will not support a secret ballot in that motion. The compromise raises questions about whether factional fights will still arise at a later stage.
For an opposition motion. Abstaining? There will be no ANC member who will vote in either way for a motion of the opposition. That will be uncharacteristic of the ANC. Actually, if you want a motion of no confidence, the ANC must move it. Then it will be the ANC motion. Then members of this can vote for it. There is no motion of no confidence by the ANC. We have a party political system.
We are awaiting the motion of no confidence.
We will make it a motion of confidence. We will make it a motion of confidence because our struggle has been a resistance against a minority that wants to dominate the majority. So we can't go to parliament and have the minority wanting to dictate to the majority about the future of this country.
Now, the National Assembly will debate a motion of no confidence against President Jacob Zuma on the 18th of April. The Democratic Alliance has moved the motion following cabinet reshuffle. Speaker Baleka Mbete held consultations with all political parties and scheduled the debate for the 18th of April. The political parties called for an urgent sitting of the National Assembly to be reconvened to debate this motion, as Parliament is currently on recess. Opposition parties are banking on some MPs from the Treasury benches to support their motion, but ANC today reiterated that none of its members will vote for that motion. Now, joining us on the phone line to discuss this further is Kenneth Mishwe, President of the ACDP. Good evening to you, and thank you for joining us here on ANN7. The date has been set as the 18th of April. How do you see the no-confidence motion likely to unfold come that date?
Well, there is still a chance to convince principled people who have consciences within the ANC. The fact is that there are many ANC MPs who had vowed to support the motion of no confidence, but the threats and the intimidation that has been coming forth from the leaders has made some to consider their position. So we have to talk to them and say you cannot violate your conscience, because when the effects of the downgrade are felt by the poorest of the poor, because some of us believe that if the situation does not turn around and the president does not step down, by next year this time bread will be around 20 rand. And the poorest of the poor will feel the pinch. There is no way that a country that has been downgraded to junk status can be able to attract investments. And when investments are not attracted, there's going to be job losses and unemployment is going to increase. So we want to say to ANC members that truly care about the poorest of poor, consider the action you are going to take, because you do not want to be among those who are blamed by the poorest of the poor and those who lose their jobs. It is because you did not have the guts and the courage to help remove a president that has contributed to the economic crisis that we are now facing as a country. So we in the ACDP believe that if we put the interests of the people first, and particularly of the poor, we would not want South Africa to take the route of Zimbabwe.
Because when Zimbabwe came to a stage where they were downgraded and they could not borrow, we know how much suffering came in that country. That is why we are still hopeful that those who will think and overcome this intimidation that's coming from the ANC leadership, they will bite the bullet. And that's what we're going to encourage them. Bite the bullet and do the right thing. Vote for the removal of President Jacob Zuma, because for as long as he's there, we will not avoid the junk status as even other two, Fitch and Moody grading agency, are also, we believe, going to follow after S&P. So the motion of no confidence on the 18th, we are still hopeful that it will go in favor of the wishes of the majority of South Africans. We know, I'm saying the majority because many people can say the majority voted for the ANC, that we know. But to the last election, we were not facing the crisis we are facing now. So the voters who do not have a voice now, that members of the opposition are speaking on their behalf, are going to have their say in 2019. But why should we wait for suffering before even those who are still singing the praises of JZ come to their senses and know the seriousness of being downgraded to junk status? Those who are telling people that it is only the wealthy who are going to feel the pinch are not only misleading.
We thank you for your views and comments, but unfortunately we are running out of time. We need to get more comments coming through here on ANN7 this evening, and for that we are joined by Narendra Singh, the IFP Chief Whip. Good evening to you, sir, and thank you for joining us here on ANN7. Now, the numbers are in favour of the ruling party. How confident are you that this time around, because it's happened before, the no confidence motion will actually prevail?
Well, I must say thank you. We are not oozing with confidence because, our electoral system, albeit unfortunately, is one that is on proportional representation. And if the government of the day 10 or 15 years ago had listened to Prince Buthelezi when he was the Minister of Home Affairs, we would have gone for a PR and a constituency-based system, which would have given those that were elected through the constituencies an opportunity to vote with their consciences. We see this time round that the ANC will possibly close ranks, which will be rather unfortunate, because one would expect that at a time like this, we should look at the country first, what happens in the country, what should we be looking to in the future. So, we go into this motion of no confidence as the IFP. We will certainly vote for the motion of no confidence, but the IFP are not all that confident that we will get the support of at least 50 members of the ANC to carry the motion, which will be a rather sad day for South Africa.
Mr. Singh, with regards to the ANC coming forward and stating that they will not vote in favour of a secret ballot, what is your view and reaction to that?
Well, we as the IFP have made proposals in the past that the Constitution should be amended. When we elect a president or a speaker, it is by secret ballot. And it just makes sense that if you want to remove a president or a speaker, it should also be by secret ballot. Unfortunately, we were defeated in the Rules Committee, but I think this is something that we need to pursue, that either way, when you elect a president or a speaker, it should be by secret ballot. And we can't go beyond what the Constitution directs and the rules direct, which is that there is no provision for a secret ballot in a motion of no confidence.
Just lastly, Mr. Singh, with regards to the planned marches and hashtag Black Friday, things of that nature, what is the IFP stance with regards to calls from various political parties for South Africans to come out in their numbers and protest against the president?
Well, the voice of civil society is very, very important in a democracy. And I think the president himself and the ruling party should take very, very serious note of what civil society says. It should not be left to just 400 of us, of the fact that we represent the wishes of the people out there and we are the elected representatives. It should not only be that, but civil society has a role to play, and I think their voice on Friday, on Black Friday, will to some extent influence reasonable thinking people within the ANC to do the right thing. We've had members of the ANC, even within the NEC, come up very strongly against what is happening, against reshuffle and other moves that the president and his select clique of people have been influencing. And we hope that civil society will be able to keep on the pressure. ANC in particular.
Thank you very much, Mr. Singh, for your comments. We appreciate you talking to us. Naren Singh, IFP Chief Whip, on the phone line. We continue to get comments coming in here on ANN7. Joining us on the phone line now is John Steenhuisen, the Chief Whip of the Democratic Alliance. Good evening to you, sir, and thank you for joining us here. Your initial reaction now that the ANC has come forward and said that they will not be supporting the motion of no confidence against President Jacob Zuma, and also they will not be supporting a secret ballot vote either.
Well, I think that the threats made by Mr. Mantashe and Mr. Novula Mokanyana are problematic. The Powers and Privileges and Immunities of Parliament Act makes it a criminal offence to influence a Member of Parliament or threaten a Member of Parliament from discharging their duty. So they should exercise those threats with deep caution. Look, it's up to the ANC Members of Parliament individually what they do, but I certainly think that for the first time in South Africa, we have a confluence of civil society, of religious leaders, of people within and outside the African National Congress and their tripartite alliance coming out and saying, look, enough is enough. We need to bring an end to this. And so there's only two ways you can remove a president in terms of our Constitution. One of those is a Section 102 motion. The other is an impeachment motion. Any other mechanism is simply not provided for. It's made very clear today that the ANC don't intend to recall President Zuma. And so we have to discharge these constitutional mechanisms to hold the president accountable.
But Mr. Steenhuisen, this is not the first time this motion has been brought against the president. In the past, it's failed. What's different now?
Well, as I've said to you, I think that there is a growing public anger, and I think it's going to manifest itself in a variety of marches taking around the country tomorrow. I think there's widespread anger about the damage that's been wreaked on the economy, the ratings downgrade 2 days ago, which is going to have a dramatic effect on poor, unemployed South Africans who are going to really feel that effect of that downgrade quite dramatically. And I think that it's it, the confluence of civil society, religious bodies, and people across the political spectrum, regardless of the color of their political T-shirt, coming together to say enough is enough.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Steenhuisen, for your time this evening. We appreciate you talking to us and giving us your views and your comments. That was John Steenhuisen, the Chief Whip of the Democratic Alliance, just talking to us with regards to the motion of no confidence that will once again be brought before President Jacob Zuma. The ANC has already stated that they will not be supporting that motion, and also they will not be supporting the call for a vote, a secret ballot vote in that regard either. Let's move on with our bulletin. And former Transport Minister Dipuo Peters has resigned as a Member of Parliament. This follows last week's cabinet reshuffle by President Jacob Zuma, which saw Peters lose her job to Joe Maswanganyi. The office of the ANC Chief Whip says the resignation was effective from the 31st of March.
She didn't give us any reason for her resignation as a Member of Parliament. The office of the ANC Chief Whip received a notice of her resignation that she wishes to resign as a Member of Parliament. So an MP would inform the office of the Speaker of the intention to resign from Parliament, stating the date as well, of which Comrade Dipuo has. She wrote a letter to the office of the Speaker stating her intention to resign as a Member of Parliament, effective from the 31st of March, and the office of the Speaker would then respond to that letter and further then inform the office of the Chief Whip of such a resignation.